Hey guys, what's up? Killjoy Jake here, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. We're doing something a little different today. I'm gonna be talking about all the horror films I watched last month, and just kinda doing little mini reviews of them. Now just to clarify something, I'm not going to be talking about any of the films that I watched for my remake versus original series. I already talked about those films in the versus videos, and you can check those out by clicking on this little thing up here. Before I start talking about all these movies, I'm gonna need you guys to like this video and subscribe for more horror content. Alright, now let's get into it.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Well, I'm Pennywise, the dancing clown.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast!
You son of a...
God, don't do that.
Well, sometimes that is better.
I haven't really talked about this on the channel so much because honestly I've just been trying to keep my mind off of it, but I actually went into quarantine for the past 2 weeks and it really sucked. I did end up watching a lot of horror movies and thinking to myself, hey, I should make a video about all these films. I watched a lot of really cool and obscure stuff. Also, I keep all of my reviews of like one-off movies and stuff on my letterboxd, Killjoy_Jake. Go follow that. So I watched Nobody Sleeps in the Woods tonight, which I think they put on Netflix for like Halloween season. It is foreign language, so if you're not down for reading subtitles, maybe skip this one, but I would recommend it. So in my review I talk about I really liked the monsters. Overall it was a good creature design, and they had some pretty gruesome kills along the way. I didn't really like the forced meta humor in this movie though. Halfway through the movie it tries to be Scream for some reason, and I don't know why. Also, this film is trying so hard to be Wrong Turn, but it's just not. It even copies some of the kills from that franchise. Like the one monster brother, I don't remember their names. He takes an axe and like cuts someone in half vertically, which is a very famous kill from one of the Wrong Turn films. I think the second one. I say very famous like everyone knows those movies. it's not very famous, but it's just like a memorable kill. Also, a lot gets set up at the beginning of this movie that doesn't come back at all. I mean, like a little bit with its negative attitude towards technology. Like, yes, a phone does end up saving them in the end, but I just wish they would have leaned a little more into that. Especially because the beginning of this movie is all the characters being addicted to cell phones or laptops, whatever. That's the reason they go to this camp in the first place. I kind of wish there would have been some more like Black Mirror technology kills rather than like Wrong Turn style, just blood and guts cutting people up kind of thing. That's just my opinion. I mean, it's still a really enjoyable film. I would check it out. It's worth watching just for its disgusting effects. Nobody Sleeps in the Woods tonight, 2.5 out of 5 stars. Moving on to Dead Ringers, a David Cronenberg film I had never seen before. Dead Ringers is weird, man. This is nothing like his other movies. It's much more of a psychological thriller than a body horror. And if you've never seen it before, I don't really want to spoil anything about it. I'm just gonna say, go into it blind like I did. Jeremy Irons plays 2 characters in this movie, both very different from each other. They're twin brothers who are both gynecologists. They meet this girl they fall in love with, and I don't want to tell you anything else. There's so much more to the movie than that. Jeremy Irons gives an insane performance, and overall made for a very thought-provoking experience. And of course, David Cronenberg had to get his little scene of body horror in there. There's a very quick shot where the brothers are lying in bed together and they have like this tube or something connecting their stomachs. It's metaphorical, gross, and very Cronenberg. I loved it. 4 out of 5 stars for this one. And then right after that, I watched The Gallows Act 2, which there's not much to say about this movie. It's just a poorly written sequel to a not so great original film. I remember seeing The Gallows a really long time ago. I found it at like a video store for like $1, so I'm like, yeah, well, I'll try it out. It was good. There was like one scene in that whole movie that was really interesting, but the characters were god-awful. It was so hard to get through the beginning of that movie, just watching these horrible high school characters be jerks to each other. It wasn't a very fun movie. There's one shot though, where it's like this girl like crying. You see like the dude or whatever like kind of come up behind her, and it's cool. That's about it. That's all there is to this movie. The sequel though doesn't even have that. It is poorly planned jump scares with a CGI monster running around. I don't know, just wasn't a big fan. The main character's a YouTuber, so that's where it gets its half a star from me from. So yeah, half a star out of 5. That's it. That's all I can give to this movie. Down from 2019 is a very interesting film. It's part of Blumhouse's Into the Dark series, which is this thing they do on Hulu like once a month. It's a TV show, kinda, but they basically just put out a movie once a month. It's pretty interesting. You should check some of those out. Not all of them are great, but Pilgrim was really good. This one actually really caught my interest as well too. Without spoiling too much, it's about 2 strangers getting trapped in an elevator together, and they find out that one of them, or maybe both of them, have some sinister intentions. It's a pretty good movie. If you don't really like people being trapped kind of movies, you probably won't like this one. I personally don't like that. I hate when a whole movie takes place in one room. I'm not a fan of it at all. But both of these characters are interesting enough to make it kind of work. For me, there just wasn't enough excitement to it. I didn't like all of the twists that happened. I'm trying to be as spoiler-free as possible. It's just something I've seen done so many times before. There's a twist that I would have liked to see with the girl character being evil or something that would have made this film a lot lot more interesting. Because there was some setup at the beginning that made it kind of seem like, oh, okay, maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something weird happening here. You also don't really get into the horror element until like halfway through this movie too. Which, like, come on, it's a horror movie. Let's get to the horror stuff. Oh, and then there's those two characters that come into the movie like in the third act that serve almost nothing for the plot. That's called lazy writing there, kiddos. Overall, I liked Down, but I'm giving it 2 stars out of 5. Little Monsters is another good movie too. This is something that's been on my watch list for a long time. Lupita Nyong'o is in this movie. She's from Us, and she's also in the Avengers movies. She kills it in this movie with a great performance. Everything I've seen her in, she's fantastic. And she plays a wildly different character from anything else that I've seen her in. I really liked Little Monsters because it's almost like a horror movie for kids. This would be like a great film to show your 8 to 10-year-old. I'm not a parent yet, so I don't know. I feel like this would be a great like stepping stone into horror movies for like younger people. It's much more of a comedy than a zombie film and has a happy ending. I don't think I spoiled too much with the tone of this movie, but it's a really fun watch. I would give it 3 stars out of 5. Probably my favorite film that I watched all month though was Freaky. One of the first films I actually got to go back to the theaters and see. This and Peninsula are the only 2 movies I've seen in theaters basically all year. So it was really nice to go. I went by myself. It was kind of lonely and sad, but it was fun. Vince Vaughn and Catherine Newton give great performances. It's a really fun movie. It's silly and bloody. Something that I felt was missing in Happy Death Day to You was it wasn't like scary enough. There wasn't like that there wasn't too much of a horror element in that movie. Christopher Landon brings it back though with this film. Personally, I think it's a perfect balance of comedy and horror. And dude, Christopher Landon is like bringing this breath of fresh air into the slasher genre. That hasn't been done since the mid-90s. I am so here for that and I love it. If he keeps pumping out these movies, I'm not gonna be complaining. Freaky is 3.5 stars out of 5 for me. And finally, I watched A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night on Shudder. This movie is really weird, man. It's basically about this ghost town in Iran where this like hippie girl is a vampire killing people. It doesn't really have a plot at all. The majority of this movie is just really weird music video, black and white shots. The one really good thing about this movie that I liked though was all like stalking scenes. The vampire lady has these scenes where she's just kind of like walking down alleyways at night and stuff and like creeping on people. And then after 30 minutes into this movie with nothing happening, we finally get a kill. And it's a gruesome one too. I will say I have respect for movies where not a whole lot happens, but then something really explosive happens in the middle, because that explosive thing like hits so much harder than a movie where it's just going on the whole time. That first kill really got me, but the rest of this movie was just kind of diminished returns. Overall, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, 2.5 stars out of 5. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more horror content. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at KilljoyJake1 and on Instagram at Killjoy_Jake. And as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.